Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'm going to give you guys another update on my miniature Phalaenopsis Orchid, and I'm also going to repot it up into a new pot. So the last video I did with this, I had taken it out of its old pot, which was full of sphagnum moss, because I discovered that the sphagnum moss was just too wet, it wasn't allowing enough oxygen in, and all its roots had rotted off. So I had 0 roots on my Phalaenopsis but lots of leaves. And so what I did is, because it was starting to shrivel up, I took it out of this pot, kept it in this pot for a few weeks, but without any roots it was just shriveling up. It was at risk of dying. So I needed to put it in a container which had very high humidity so it wouldn't dry out anymore. Ideally I would have kept it in this pot so it could still grow its roots, but unfortunately the pot was just in the way when I was trying to find a container to put it in. So I took it out of the pot and I've kept it in here for several months now. As you can see, it's grown quite a few healthy roots. It did lose a lot of its leaves, but it's grown 2 smaller healthy leaves. It also put on quite a lot of flowers, which was surprising because I thought it was going to give up on the flowers, but it put on a few. I left most of them because it was still doing okay. So I'll just cut off the dead stems now because it's finished with them. And I don't really want it to grow any more flowers, I just want it to have more roots and leaves and then get ready for flowering for next time. So you can see the new leaves are actually very healthy. They're looking quite nice. The roots are also quite healthy as well. This one's been sitting in the water, and as you can see it's gone quite furry on the end because it's putting out lots of little fine hairs to try and soak up more water. And you can see in the past the little hairs that have grown where it's touched the water, and I just moved it higher and higher. So unfortunately, as you can see, this root is far too big. It won't fit in the pot. So I'm going to do what I never do with a Phalaenopsis, in which I would recommend you only do if you absolutely have to, and that's I'm going to cut the root off, because the roots are actually where most of the energy is stored in the Phalaenopsis, as well as the leaves, and it's where it gets all its nutrients and moisture from. So I would never cut off a root normally, but because this one is so big, and because I've got 3 other ones that are quite healthy coming out, I'm going to cut it off. Just about there, so there's space for it to fit in the pot, that's all. It's also not a good idea because it can open up the end to a risk of infection, so that's another reason why it's not good. So the other thing I'm going to do is, because I left these old roots on last time because I wasn't sure if they were 100% dead, but I can now see they are. So I'm going to remove all the dead material. This will help create more space for the new roots that are starting to grow out. So I'll just quickly trim all of these off. So there we are. You can see, as I said before, there was three new roots coming out. This one's been cut, so it may stop growing now, but these 3 will keep growing, and there's possibility of more roots coming out from further down. In fact, you can see there's one just in the crack down there. There's a little root just starting to grow where my fingernail is, so that's always a good sign. So I'm just going to put it in the same mix I had last time, and that's a mixture of compost, which was was orchid compost, but bark based instead of sphagnum moss based, and I haven't found the highest quality of orchid compost, to be honest. There's not just bark, there's a bit of peat and some other stuff in there. So I've mixed in a large amount of perlite as well, probably almost 50%, maybe 40%, just under half anyway. So I'm just going to put it up now, check the roots will fit, which they will do now. So I'll just fill in a bit more into the base of the pot, just so the roots are just starting to touch it. There we are. So I'll just put those roots in like so, once we get the right height. There we are. It's almost holding itself in. So now I just have to carefully fill in around the roots. This is one of the trickier things about Phalaenopsis orchids, is the roots are very brittle, and you really need to try and fill in around. They don't have much flexibility in them. They're not like most plants where you can kind of move the roots around much. So you just have to hold them in place and try and get as much as the potting material around the roots as you can, and hopefully that will hold them in secure. I'm just going to tap it a bit just to make sure that it goes around the roots and that it will hold it. So there we are. You can see some of the roots aren't quite in the soil like this one here, but that's not a big issue. It should grow down into the medium, as the medium will be damp. That would encourage more growth, and the other ones are deep inside. So that's as high as I'm planting it. I'm not planting it any higher because I don't want to cover up the crown, get too much moisture in the crown, because you can encourage rot if you do that. So I'll just put this now in this main pot here, and I'll just keep watering it. I may top up the soil level a little bit because you can see it's still quite loose. That's all for now, and I'll give you guys an update when it's continued to grow.